After 2 or 3 months, Mary would write that they should send her son home. She and her father would know then that the couple had managed to get back on their feet again. It had been nice having Todd with them. Through the long visits, they had gotten to know the little fellow, and they missed him greatly when he was gone. The last time he had been sent to them, around 6 months ago, he was a sturdy little fellow with a genial nature. One thing bothered Fancy a great deal. Why hadn't Mary come to their father's funeral? She had sent a letter off to her sister immediately after the accident. It should have arrived the same day. Mary would have had plenty of time to see her father one last time. The only answer Fancy could come up with was that Jason had moved on to a different job, and the letter hadn't reached Mary. So what was Fancy to do now? She asked herself. She might not hear from her sister for months. The answer came one day, when she accidentally overheard a conversation between 2 loggers.
"You ain't worth spit today, Sam,"
one of the men had complained.
"I bet you was over at the Dawson camp dancing last night."
"Yes, damn it, and I'm plumb tuckered out today."
"Used up a week's pay, didn't you?"
"Just about,"
Sam said with a sigh.
"It don't take long to do it. A man has to pay pretty good to dance with them girls."
"Yeah, and they probably make more money in a week than you do busting your ass getting the timber cut and hauled to the sawmill."
"They make the money all right, but it sure is nice dancing with them."
The next day, Fancy had packed and made arrangements to have her belongings hauled to the Dawson camp. 2 days later, she had moved into a small house and become one of Big Mert's girls. She had been dancing for 2 weeks now. Fancy came out of her preoccupation at the sound of shrill laughter. She wasn't surprised to see the black hair of Pilar come strutting from her room, followed by a thick-set, red-bearded lumberjack. As the Mexican dancer shoved several bills down the front of her dress, Fancy couldn't blame the men who thought that for a price she would take one of them to one of the rooms leading off the big hall and entertain them during the 15-minute break. The old adage about birds of a feather ran through Fancy's mind. The men naturally thought she was like the other dancers, who made most of the money that way. It was the main reason they were there. Pilar, however, liked betting the men and took one to her room at every break. On the dance floor, Pilar was vivacious, ever smiling, but the women who worked with her knew it was all a facade. Beneath those sparkling black eyes and that wide smile was a spiteful woman. None of the dancers liked her. Most hated and feared her. Fancy disliked the Mexican woman intensely. They had clashed over a man recently. Chance Dawson, the owner of the lumber camp. Fancy scanned the milling lumberman who waited impatiently for Luther, the piano player, to start pounding the keys again. She didn't see the broad-shouldered, whip-lean body of the man who was the reason Pilar had come after her with a knife. Of course, Chance could still come, Fancy reminded herself. It was still early for the dancers at least. They didn't start working until midnight, and the clock on the wall said it was only a few minutes to 2. He might be playing poker with some of the married men in camp, and would come around later. As Fancy massaged her other foot, she recalled the first time she had seen Chance Dawson. She had been dancing here for exactly a week, when the handsome, brown-eyed man approached her with a strip of tickets in his hand and a devilish twinkle in his eyes. She had felt her heart slam against her ribs when he handed her the tickets and swept her onto the dance floor. Never before had a man made such an impact on her. Living in a lumber camp ever since she could remember, Fancy had known scores of men, but none had ever stirred her interest. When he asked, "Where did you come from, angel face?" he had smoothly swung her round the dance floor, his hand light on her waist. She couldn't make her tongue move to answer him immediately. Finally, she was able to answer him breathlessly. "I come from Tumwater, about 10 miles down the river." He had looked down at her with a quizzical smile.
"What made you leave that camp and come here? Don't they pay the men good wages there?"
Fancy wasn't sure she heard mockery in his voice, so she answered, "I'm sure they get the same wages the men here do."
"Then you must have fallen in love with one."